Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all. I'm going to let folks get settled in virtually here, and I want to make sure that I also disable the wait room so anybody joining us a little bit late can come right in. It's great to see some familiar names and faces. I was looking through the registration list and was happy to see some familiar names and faces. And we've got a really great, hopefully a great discussion lined up for all of you. And we've got Ed Parcells here, our moderator, and some of our advisory council and consultants also in the audience here that will be adding to the discussion during today's listening session. So really honored and grateful to be with all of you this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. I know for sure it's morning up there in Alaska territory. So we have Shirley Holmberg here from Fairbanks. She's one of our consultants. And I know I saw a couple other attendees too that I know are in the Alaska territory. So I want to welcome our participants from up north there, way up north. My name is Steve Steiny. I'm one of the managers here at the National American Indian Alaska Native ATC. Just got a few introductory slides to go through. Everybody see that screen okay? It should be a full screen. Yes, I'm getting a nod from Avis. So yes, if you are having trouble hearing, you can check your audio settings on the down arrow next to your mute button on your Zoom bar. You can adjust those audio settings and then reach out to myself or one of our consultants. I also have on the call here my graduate assistant, Andrew Lilly. He may be able to help troubleshoot with you as well if you're having some audio issues. But you can use the chat box and certainly unmute. We're going to encourage everyone to unmute and participate today as we address this topic of alcohol use or misuse in Native communities. And this is Alcohol Awareness Month. I know Ed and I agree that every month is Alcohol Awareness Month, but in particular, this is the identified month where we really raise our awareness level and take a look at some of the issues connected to alcohol use or misuse and how it impacts us. So I'm going to go through these slides and then I'll switch decks. We've got some slides with questions that Ed will present to the group, and we really encourage everyone to be ready to unmute and join us in this discussion. That's our main intent here. So thank you. Thank you for being here, and it's great to see everyone. As most of you know, this event is brought to you by the National American Indian Alaska Native Addiction Technology Transfer Center. We're located at the University of Iowa. I'm broadcasting to you live from the College of Public Health here, University of Iowa campus. We are part of a larger national ATTC network made up of 10 regional centers, a national Hispanic and Latinx center, as well as a national coordinating office located at the University of Missouri. This project is supported and funded by SAMHSA. The content of today's discussion is really developed and created by the presenters and our participants. The opinions expressed today do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of SAMHSA, HHS, or the American Indian Alaska Native ATTC. We will provide, if applicable, we'll provide links to today's presentation, including a recording of today's discussion. We are going to keep this in our ATTC archives. If you have a colleague that was not able to join, you could share this link with them and they could at least listen in on the conversation. We are not going to be providing any CEUs for today's listening session, and we will ask you to fill out a short survey at the end of today's event. If you don't have time to do that today, we'll reach out to you via email post-event and give you another opportunity to complete that short questionnaire. Your feedback is really important to us. You don't have to fill out the questionnaire, but we'd really love to hear back from you. And this questionnaire is private and confidential and can't be linked to you personally in any way. So just want to make sure I make that clear to all of you. If you do have any questions about that survey, reach out to myself or any one of our consultants or advisory council members on the call today. We'd be happy to take your questions. So, but we'd love to hear back from you. The survey itself has a couple of short answer opportunities so we can really hear from you in your own words. So again, just wanted to put that out there. I know we're gathered here virtually today, but we would like to take this time to acknowledge the land and pay respect to the Indigenous nations whose homelands were forcibly taken and inhabited. Please take a few moments to read this land acknowledgement, which was created by 3 former members of our team, Ella and Keely Driscoll and Sean Bear from the Meskwaki and Winnebago nations, respectively. Thank you. Well, without further ado, I want to introduce my colleague and my friend, Mr. Ed Parcells. He is an enrolled member of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe and has many, many years of experience working in the behavioral health field, particularly working with issues related to substance use disorders and other underlying co-occurring disorders. I've really had the privilege of working with Ed for the last 3-4 years now, and really appreciate his knowledge and wisdom as it relates to substance use disorders, including alcohol use disorders. So happy to have him here. Want to let Ed introduce himself, and while he's doing that, I'm going to pull up the questions related for our moderator to present to all the group. And I'm also hoping that Mr. Doug Widow could provide us a blessing before we get started. So thank you, Ed. I'm going to turn the table over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. It's always a delight to work with you, and both in person and through this electronic media. And want to welcome everybody here to this session today. Very, very important session. This is my life. I just love this work. I retired a couple years ago, and now my wife says I am really retired as a consultant. And but I enjoy the subject matter of substance use disorder, all manner. So, and again, I want to thank all of you for being with us, and looking forward to this presentation and all the material that's going to be shared. And hope you find it useful. I believe that the creator is at work through ATTC and through Steve and through the other staff, and I just trust that the creator is going to use this presentation in a good way to enhance your experience in recovery, or you gain knowledge to better equip you to work with people. So, Doug, would you give us a blessing on this gathering?
Oh. Hutun Kashila, I'm better killer, or can't we occupy and can't open like an inch. You can't tackle it now, won't lock up here now. Yeah, Ja, on kiitos takue na nahti. Ununya ke umpi kana cha. On kiksapi. Okay, we chose on. Which is a training teacher. Umitakase.
Oh, the doctor. Thank you. Doug's a member of Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe and one of our spiritual leaders as well. So we appreciate that, Doug. So I think we're going to jump right into the questions now, right, Steve? Is this
Yeah, and if that's okay, I know that we really want to hear from our audience members and get a discussion going. So yes, we'll. Ed and I also have some anonymous polling questions too that we may introduce to you as we're going. So everybody can see that screen okay. I think we'll start off with this question, and I would ask perhaps some of our advisory council and consultants to maybe get the discussion started. So yes, thank you, Ed.
okay? So we're gonna discuss first of all strategies in the prevention of alcohol misuse. So does anybody have any experience with successful strategies or complications from strategies or anything you'd like to share um, regarding the prevention of alcohol misuse?
Well, I'd like to share the fact that sometimes we have patients who have alcohol use disorder and they want benzodiazepines. And in the past, I don't normally do that for patients because it's another chance of addiction to set up one. We recently had, a patient who another provider ordered Valium, and she got her third DUI and had the Valium there, took 7 of them all at once. So yeah. Just what are your suggestions for anxiety related to alcohol use disorder and treatment?
Well, that opened the lid on that can of worms. Usually, I would say above 99% has been my experience that the medical community and the psychiatric community are very much in tune with efforts at recovery, and most will not prescribe those medication for people in recovery, but occasionally it will happen. I would want to consult with the physician and just let them know, of course, with proper consents, releases of information, consult with the physician about the prescription. They might want to withdraw it and prescribe something else, but if not, so be it. We just get to work with that and educate the people we're working with about the dangers of those prescription medication. Anybody else have anything you want to share?
I want to comment on what Sheila just stated. I have experience of working in a detox, and in the detox, under a nurse that could prescribe, they would give the patients Librium, but it was not give them 7 of them that they could take. I think they were able to take 1, and every so many hours until they were able to come off of the alcohol and be okay. So it's monitoring their vitals with they use the CIWA, the withdrawal assessment.
Yeah, that's a good point. In an inpatient versus an outpatient setting, under a doctor's medical care, those medication could probably be appropriate.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
just hand them, I wouldn't just give them to the person like that, or maybe have somebody be responsible for giving them it to them at certain intervals of time as prescribed.
Right. Thank you.
Mhm.
And this was outpatient. And I think she said she had a seizure disorder, but there's no really a history of that I saw.
Yeah, but you know, just a word of caution, you really, you have to be careful challenging people who are credentialed way above us. There's an appropriate way to do that. So, but sometimes we do need to call things to their attention because they may not be fully aware of, you know, people we're helping, their complete situation. So. Anybody else? Anybody else want to share any experiences or have questions related to this issue?
I was just sharing with my staff yesterday because we have some grant funds that we're going to be spending in the community where I work and live. And I shared with them that on the Wind River Reservation where I come from, we did have a substance use prevention grant. Gosh, this has been over 10 years ago, but I feel that this program has continued to do even more. I know the recovery program on my reservation actually added a prevention department to it and hired staff to do prevention work. And in my research a little over 10 years ago, what I learned was anything that brings the community together in a positive manner that does not involve drug or alcohol, could be a powwow, could be a round dance, could be your activities that you provide in the community, such as beading and sewing classes, and even the basketball games. You can put on a special tournament, and as long as drug and alcohol isn't involved and it brings the community together, but still getting that message out there while you're hosting these events is an effective way to address some prevention work.
And I think that funding agency was probably
SAMHSA.
that usually they want, with the grant application, they want a sustainability plan because they want to see the impact of the funding, how it's going to have a long-term helpful, useful effect in the community. The program was developed from that is currently being sustained by the tribe. I mean, that's as good as it gets. Plus, they probably learned some things, and you're reporting to them of the things that you were doing. And that's what I find across Indian country, working with tribes all over the United States. Some of our local people, they're the best kept secrets in the country on success and effective strategy using the culture.
Yeah.
We just encourage folks to unmute and comment about this first question or related to prevention of alcohol use or misuse.
Want to go ahead and make a comment, and hopefully I'll be quiet, just listen the rest of the time. But I when I was young, I thought I would grow up. Now I'm old, and I still the same ways I did when I was young. And where I'm going with that is when I used to hunt, I would look for trails. Trails told you two things. They told you what was moving and what was the most popular path to move, and what animals were moving on that path. Usually if there was a trail, there was something at the other end of it. Often it was water. My point is that I've always believed, and my grandpa would not agree with me, I've shared this before, and maybe none of you will agree with me, but I think as a species that we seek altered states of experience. I'm still offended by Western society to consider anxiety
Doc, I think you muted yourself. We lost you there.
I think anxiety is a pretty normal part of being human. I think anxiety and distress are pretty appropriate. I think seeking altered states of consciousness is a pretty appropriate part of being human. Many times we don't speak of our most intimate experiences, both painful and joyous. I've never had anyone discuss an orgasm with me, and I seldom have people discuss a trauma with me unsolicited. Those are very personal elements of our life experience. And I do believe that our use of alcohol, to me, it's the aspiration matters as much as the prevention, maybe even more. As Ava said, for us to realize the power of relationship with each other, with the earth, with our culture, with our community, with our language, with our song, with our dance, with all our relatives, all our relations. I think that's so important on an ongoing basis. I think that's part of the power of culture. And so I think we're ignoring something when we talk about prevention. I so much prefer we talk about what our aspiration is, that we walk in balance, that we walk in relationship, both inside and outside. And I do believe that the anxiety will be quieted then. I do agree with Avis when I've worked with acute detoxification. I like Librium just because it's felt and it's short acting. And so it's something that's useful for detox, and it's one of the earliest of the benzodiazepines. And with that said, I'll be quiet and listen. But I love for people to restore relationship and to come to a place of joy and peace, not based on benzodiazepines to quiet anxiety, but based on learning to walk in balance and connectedness with life within and around us.
Construction out there's a mess.
Yep. Excellent, excellent information and comments. You know, I didn't realize that adolescence was a stage that you went through. I just kind of camped there. I kind of like being in this. I could get to use it as an excuse for my rebellion and inappropriateness at times. So, but anyway, so is for just a question for the audience. Is alcohol misuse, do you perceive it as a problem in your community? And how so? And have you been affected by any alcohol misuse?
So I put that poll question up, and you can respond to this, and we'll take a look at the results.
Oh, wow, this is kind of uptown. You got, that's what I love about you, Steve. You got all here. So this poll is literally a poll that's being implemented.
Yes, this is a real poll question. So if you're comfortable participating, we'd love to hear from you. Is alcohol misuse an ongoing concern in your community? Give a few more of you a chance to chime in here.
Well, while that's going, I'd like to share a little bit and from my what I do here. The first thing is having anxiety and all the prescription drugs. You know, those are all there. But also our way of teaching has also always been there. But so one of them is when we start having anxiety, we disconnect from ourselves and disconnect from other people, mostly our family. And so what I do here is I help them reconnect with themselves. An example would be each one of us have names. And that's the reason why we have those names, is because our spirit will wander off. And we'll get a chance to, and we could call our own self back. We'll call our spirits back. And then by praying and going to ceremony, you know, that teaches you to keep your spirit. And as far as detoxing, you know, for me, I would take them to the sweat lodge and bring them, eventually bring them back when they're ready. And so in the language is you know, prevention. It's good to learn the language, but there's also values there too. So yeah, using the culture has been really effective here in this community.
He said, she said.
Ed, are you able to see the poll questions that I've shared with the group?
Yeah, and it just has an option. It says stop sharing.
Yes, but just to note the results of the poll, you can see about 56% of you, those of you that participated, said that you believed alcohol misuse was going on in your community. So about half of you that participated, and then others said yes. 39% of you said yes, but not as much as other substances. So those were the two predominant responses there. I appreciate everybody participating in that.
It's an ongoing issue, but I noticed some of the comments too. There are other substances that have become emerged as a greater problem. So
Yes.
I know meth and opioids, fentanyl in particular. You know, those used to be running in the background, but in some communities they're front and center now. But alcohol is still there and ongoing. Any other questions or comments?
I really like what Doug said about anxiety causing a lot of problems and having to reconnect people with themselves. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, you know, working at St. Ignatius with Confederated Salish tribe. And I'm not a member of the tribe, so it's hard for me to be, you know, a non-member of the tribe and trying to help connect them with their culture. So any thoughts about that? I did talk to our cultural representative and he said it's a little different. Like when you invite somebody to a sweat lodge or you tell them to do that, you're actually telling the person, another person to set it up for them. You know, like I guess somebody, a judge ordered a sweat lodge for somebody and then it was his mother who had to provide the sweat lodge. So it was really like ordering the mother to do the sweat lodge in a sense. So I don't really understand. There's different ways of approaching it, apparently, that you don't go directly to somebody, you go to a relative. It just depends on the tribe, I guess, and or somebody that's close to that person who has a sweat lodge. Can you help me on that one?
Well, I noticed a non-native is the only one that responded to what I said, because it makes a lot of sense what I said, but nobody's jumping to it because they all want to hear from the Western perspective. So to help you with that, you know, whatever sweat lodge is available, or either that, I would encourage to make make your own at home. Learn to take care of it. That's a prevention in itself. And so, yeah, it's, I thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah. Wopila.
And I'd also add that I know in the communities that I've worked in, some of our non-native helpers that have come to be useful have earned acceptance in some of the communities and are literally respected and looked up to. Like people respond to the concept of if you want what's best for people and they genuinely perceive you as a genuine person, there will be a degree of acceptance and respect that'll come your way, and you'll know it because they'll be soliciting from you help and that type of thing.
Good morning. This is Clem. I'm out here in Davis, California. I just wanted to chime in and say that, you know, as long as we're offering some of that, the spiritual aspect of it, we also got to be cognizant that what we believe is true is not the belief of the residents that we deal with. We deal with only natives here at an IHS facility, but a lot of times what we deliver is the only experience they'll have. So with smudging is universal, but at the same time, we have to be cognizant of what medicines they smudge with. Sweat lodge is not a practice they use out here, but it's something that we offer. Again, we offer it because sometimes in their community, they're lost. They're not in that spiritual place where they need to be, and just helping them define it. So what we do is we offer these, but we don't require them. We make them optional. We make them available. And also we connect with the elders and the spiritual leaders in the area to help guide us, because again, this is a pretty diverse place. We have hundreds of tribes here in California. A lot of them are unrecognized, but are and still existent. So there's a lot of struggle with that. So again, I know with you know, with like the equine therapy, that is really awesome with utilizing spiritual practices, and also using that in concert with the Western practices. I mean, both are effective, and it's definitely meeting them where they're at, using that motivational interviewing approach of meeting the resident, the client, the patient, where they're at, what is going to work for them, what has always worked for them.
I think you know, we really have to be kind of sensitive, tuned with the people that we're working with, and some of them, if they have no belief system, you know, we would encourage them. Spirituality is the foundation for recovery, so sometimes they just need permission to start that journey. But whatever belief system they want to engage is completely up to them. You know, we got to be careful not to impose our own, but rather support them in their spiritual quest and journey. 12-step is an excellent plain label generic form of spirituality, but indigenous cultural practices are very powerful.
Hello, this is Shirley Holmberg.
Hi,
Can
Shirley.
you guys, hi, can you see me or can you just hear me?
We can see you and hear you. It's it's the double whammy.
Yeah, I can't see myself. Um, I was thinking, I work at a middle school, like for this last, I don't know, 5 or 6 months. But I always think, I'm a recovered person, worked in behavioral health for years, and I have almost 36 years of sobriety, being clean and sober. And I always think that I drank and used, had substance and process addictions because I hadn't yet gotten to my root issue. And my root issue was childhood sexual abuse by 6 men in my village from age 2.5 to age 4 years old. And that kept me having some sort of addiction most of my life till I was 35 years old. And then I quit drinking and using and numbing out. And then my root issues start coming back and memories start coming back. So when you're a small child, you don't have the vocabulary to say what, people did to you. You don't have a voice. You don't know what's happening to you. So, I always think that, yeah, alcohol is one of the things we numb out with. And I think the important thing is finding out, why we're numbing out. Um, and I think also I work with my own family. My mother always used to tell me, well, you help all these people, why don't you help your family? So I prayed about that and tried to figure out how I could help. And one of the things I did with my children and my adopted children was have dinner for them. And this is just a personal kind of thing. And I gave them a talk on alcohol, on prevention, which I've never done before. And I gave them, I didn't slap their hands or say, don't. I just told them about alcohol and how we don't come from long lines of drinking alcohol. I'm the third generation in my family to see alcohol, to taste alcohol. And I think that families or people need to research their history with alcohol, and my family, they had never tasted alcohol before, ever. Didn't drink wine at their dinner table or whatever, people do with young children. And, they just drank. And a lot of us drink, and how I learned to drink was like I drank milk and juice and water, I just guzzle it. So that's exactly what I did with alcohol. And I think kind of demystifying and destigmatizing alcohol so that young people know what it can do to you if you drink, excess, if you drink too much. So I did give them a talk, and I've talked to other young people. Also started creating celebrations, like having a nieces party, and in that party, I would talk to them about, oh, just about life and stuff like that, and about women stuff, and a little bit on alcohol. So anyway, I could talk forever and a day, and I hope I didn't scare all of you with my face. And Anavasi, listening.
Thank you, Shirley. Your audio was breaking up there at the end. You may want to just turn your camera off to save some bandwidth. Just a suggestion. It's great to see you,
So-
though. Don't get me wrong. We want to hear from
I can see you, but I can't
you.
see me. You know how we usually see everybody's little picture?
Yes,
I can't see everybody, so.
you should be able to adjust that by going to your view and put it on gallery view.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm on my Android, so.
Oh,
I don't.
that's probably why.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the issue.
got you. Thank you.
Okay, Anavasi. Thank you very much.
I would like to share a little bit with what you shared. Thank you for sharing that. That was very brave to do.
Mhm.
As you talked about what happened, and you kind of said it so you probably already know, but it's not what happened to you, it's what happened to you inside of you, not being able to voice that, that become the trauma. And so those are the things that we need to take a look at rather than treating the symptoms. So again, thank you for sharing that.
Mm. Other examples of I know Ed and I have put up question 2. Are there some thoughts about examples of early intervention with alcohol use?
I work within a treatment program, and oftentimes a majority of people that are charged with any criminal charges by the tribal court are sent to us to get an assessment. They're required to, and some of the time these people don't meet criteria for a full use disorder, but because whatever legal problems they had involved use of substance, we have a prevention level of treatment, a 0.5, using the ASAM criteria, and we provide education to those people that need it. And for the past, I want to say, past 7 months now, we have one of the reservation schools has asked one of our counselors to come to their school and do presentations to the youth and talk to some of the kids because, well, marijuana is legal in Montana, so the use among youth is high. I know we're focused on alcohol, but I really believe from the work that I do, I always say if I could have my choice of where to work, I would work with the youth because they are the ones that are at that age that need to be educated on the dangers of alcohol and what it could do to your life and your family and your health and your development, because I see so many people coming into treatment now where I work that are really struggling, and some of them, are much older than, the 21 to, the mid age range. And I'm like, man, they've suffered for so long that they struggle because that's been a way of their life for so long. So I think being able to intervene with our youth early, and my son was bringing up when he was a kid, they had the DARE program and how much he liked his DARE T-shirt and that he kept wearing it and wearing it. And I told him, I said, as far as I know, that was the only program there was, at that time. So I don't know if any other programs are intervening and providing education. I know we're planning some events, and I'm trying to come up with some creative ways to present, some information to the youth, because we want to target a lot of our events for the youth for the summer.
Yeah, I've worked with youth and adults. Back earlier, I wanted to respond. Sometimes the adolescents or the youth, they don't meet the requirements of either ASI or whatever
Mhm.
use. But we've had judges, tribal judges, sometimes inappropriately, sometimes appropriately, they court order people treatment without even seeing an assessment, just on the information that was provided. Sometimes it may be like an involuntary commitment, or that type of thing. But so we get people to treatment, and we were told that that court order, we can honor that and bring them into treatment, even though the assessment says they're not appropriate for that level. Just based on the court order, we can do that. I directed an adolescent program for a while, and I really like the opportunities to intervene in these young people's lives early. So that provides an excellent opportunity. Early intervention strategies. Sometimes that's a court, or it could be legal problems, provide opportunity for early intervention, family problems, social problems, educational, anything related to alcohol use disorder can be used to do intervention and to get them the help, hopefully at the appropriate level. Sometimes it's inpatient, sometimes it's outpatient. They may merit residential treatment.
Ed, should I try another polling question?
I wanna
Oh,
share a
yeah, here,
little
Doug.
intervention, early intervention. It starts really young. I think I remember my little guy, he's 10 now. But when he was barely walking, he would help get wood and rocks and stuff like that, and teaching them at a young age, not only the language, but like the other day, we was out gathering rocks and stuff, and he smashed his finger, and usually I would just continue on, but that day I made a special effort to stop and open this door. He was full of tears, and so I grabbed him and I hugged him, told him I loved him and sorry that happened to him. by the time I got around the pickup and got into the other side, he was fine. So those are the little things that our children need. But we're still dealing with our own stuff that their their needs are not being met because we're still trying to deal with our own. Even as counselors, somebody comes in and they have something going on, you know, and we're gonna sit back and try to you know, put this whatever mask on, and but in reality, you know, maybe they just needed a shoulder that day. But you know, we're gonna sit back and try to come up with all kinds of different things. But in reality, all they needed was, in our language, they say "Unshirikicha okicha umpo." Love each other and help each other. Keep it simple like that instead of making it more difficult.
Are there any other examples of early intervention strategies? Anybody have anything you want to share regarding?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ed. I do have a bit to share. This is Lena Gotchbin. I'm here in the Southwest working for one of the tribal pueblos, Santo Domingo, aka Kiwa. I just wanted to share that early intervention is so important, and I'm reflecting on me as a young person. And I recall there was more effort on the part of the community or the tribe to have traditional classes on how to make traditional regalia and like moccasins, the dancing stockings, the skirts, and along with that came, you know, fun times to play softball as a team, to have cultural events, and it was a lot of fun. And back in the day, of course, we didn't have the computers or the cell phones, the technology that exists today, which takes a lot of time from our youth. And so I think that's been a part of the interruption. And so I'm very grateful that my childhood had a lot to do with the traditional way of life and how that was significant in my upbringing and where I'm at, that kept me from substance use. Nowadays, it's really at a place where it's not good. So early intervention is so critical. Keeping it simple is so important. And bringing our children, our adolescents together, mixed with our elders, is so important. And I saw that and I lived that. So I just want to say, you know, that it's so important. And I've been in the field for nearly 40 years and seeing how, for myself, how much I really enjoy working in this area and how much more there we have that we must help our people. The need is great. So any way we can work together as a team, whether locally, state, nationally, you know, I think this is doing this this morning is really great, and I hope we continue our conversations and communications and getting to know our relations throughout the country. So thank you.
Thank you, Elena. That was well put. And somebody much smarter than me said that culture is prevention. And I know for like Lakota culture, the use of alcohol and drugs is not a part of the culture. So abstinence is built in with culture. So the earlier we can, especially like with adolescents, if sometimes they just need permission to engage the culture, especially if they weren't raised with it. And sometimes we as helpers can initiate that process. Or if they have been raised with it and strayed, we can point back to the culture as especially the abstinence aspect of it. So good point.
I just wanted to add, kind of build on the previous comment and then your comment too, Edgar. My name is Lacey Gonzalez. I manage the Rocky Mountain Tribal Leaders Council Tribal Opioid Response Program grant in Billings, Montana. And our grant is slightly unique, and we focus on the urban Indian population in the major cities throughout Montana. And we have taken a culture as prevention focused approach with our programming and our tour funding. We host a lot of community activities to bring people together. We have a nice mixed group of participants with elders and youth. We have foster parents bringing their native foster kids to our events so that they do get an opportunity to experience culture. And even a lot of urban Indian youth have never had the opportunity to experience their culture or ask questions or participate in any cultural activity. And so we try to provide those for our urban youth with the emphasis on culture as a protective factor and culture as prevention from substance use. At one of our recent events, we had 2 small children. They were probably 7 or 8 years old. We were having a beading night with our community college. And one of those youth said to one of our facilitators, this is the nicest anyone's ever been to me. No one's this nice to me at home. And that really breaks my heart that this little kid doesn't have anyone that's nice to him at home that would just sit with him and teach him how to do beadwork. And so we've really taken that approach, just bringing people together and just creating those positive community connections with our tour funding. And I think, like Douglas said, we're just trying to keep things simple. With prevention work, I think it's easy to focus on, how many overdoses you've treated with Narcan or how many fentanyl strips you've handed out. It's harder to say how many people you've affected because you just sat down and were nice to them. Like you can't track that metric like you can track some of those other things. And I think that might be one of the hurdles for prevention work, is just getting over that mindset that we have to have a number. We have to be able to track this. You can't track family time, but that's what we need. We need to bring that back and keep people connected. So I just wanted to kind of add that that's what we're doing here with our work in Billings.
Excellent. And I especially like what you said about, bringing in the elders and bridging that, or making that bridge, that connection, utilizing the elders, give them opportunity to share their wisdom and their knowledge about the culture with the youth, especially in foster care. They're in foster care for a reason, and to make a special effort to reach out to them, outstanding.
Ed, should we try another poll question?
If you insist. I mean, it's not even 5 o'clock yet, whatever.
Those of you that are able to see, please feel free to participate if you're comfortable. The question here is, have you ever been impacted by alcohol misuse in your community?
Either community-wide issues or individually, have you been impacted by alcohol misuse?
Ed,
Yo,
so the question, yes, directly impacted, does that mean like with, maybe not personally, but within my home? Or,
either you could be impacted, got hit with a drunk driver, that would be impacted, right? Or yeah, indirectly, family members
okay,
being
okay,
that type of thing.
yes,
I know I have a very, very strict, my family knows this, and it may be a little harsh, but if you're intoxicated, you're not welcome in my house. I don't care if you're one of my kids or nieces, nephews. If you're intoxicated, I'll visit with you on the porch. You're not coming into my house. I just set that. That's carved in stone, and all of our family, they all know that. So, but I used to have doors, have them coming in and crashing, spending the night, thinking I was being helpful, but usually that was just enabling behavior. Still love them, still care for them, but I'm not going to subject me, my wife, or my dog to their abuse.
Well, there's the results of that second poll question. 44% of you said you have been directly, recently impacted by alcohol misuse. 28% said indirectly recently, and 28% said yes, but not recently.
Anybody want to share an experience?
Ed,
Yes.
I can share an experience. I have a lot of experience with past history with my father, who was a former POW, and how that impacted his alcoholism. But what I wanted to actually share is, even at our jobs, at our work, about a few weeks ago, we had a gentleman staggering to our program here, and I was alerted by the CHR manager just a little ways away from us, and she wanted to let me know that there was a gentleman that was coming toward our building who was staggering, and he came in and he was obviously under the influence, and he was disheveled, and it was obviously he fell a number of times getting to our program. And because we're located right in the village, and so his speech was slurred, and it was quite obvious that he's struggling just to get to us, and saying he needs help, please send me to treatment. As best he could, he was communicating that, and it was really difficult to see him as he was coming in, because it kind of took me back, maybe seeing some of it in my own community or my own father, and how that really hurt, because there was a time that my father really needed a drink, and it was during the winter time, and there was snow, and not knowing that he went outside without his shoes in the snow. And I was looking for him, and I don't recall the situation where my family was, but I saw him walking by the church, and I ran after him, and I brought him home. That really hurt a lot. And when he was sober, I was brave enough to ask him, what had, or tell him what happened and why. And all he could tell me is, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
You know, that's what the alcohol does to me. And I didn't know I did that. So he was in a blackout. But it took me back to that situation when I was a kid. I don't even remember how old I was when this gentleman came in, and it really was hard to see him the way he was. And of course, we did all that we could to immediately get him the help. He needed to be in detox. So me and one of my workers drove him up to the clinic to get him seen. And of course, they told us you really should call 911 or, you know, route him that way. And I said, yes, we could have done that, but you know, you're right here in the community. Please triage him. And yes, we can call 911. And yes, he does require possibly medical detox, but let them determine that at the hospital. So it turned out where he did end up being hospitalized. But again, you know, in our jobs, at our jobs, we have these kind of situations coming in at any time. And I believe, you know, it impacts us as providers or even, you know, whatever situation as community members, or even, you know, driving and seeing a native walking, hitchhiking. I mean, there's all kind of scenarios that I'm sure many of us have been exposed to when it comes to how we've been impacted. So just a little bit of sharing. Thank you.
We have a new question up here, so
Ed,
yes.
Ed, before you move on, just an observation, and again, folks, I respect all of you that disagree with me, and those of you who don't even know what I'm talking about. But I often break down our self into many parts oneself. And the part of us that's talking right now, this very human part with language and all this sophisticated concepts and stuff, ironically is the first to be impacted by alcohol. And so it's going to part ways first. When we say that the person is blacked out, in a way, they're not truly blacked out, because, but that part of us that's talking is blacked out. And the second part I call the mammalian self. So I call that our human part of ourself. And the mammalian part of ourself is the second part. And that's the fight, flight, freeze, or get laid. Not always the best solutions to problems, but often the solutions people will find when they're intoxicated. But there's another part that I call the lizard brain. And here's where I'll be offending people probably, but lizard brain is responsible for anxiety. It's responsible for fight or flight. It's responsible for limbic. It's responsible for digestion. It's responsible for respiration, for reproduction. Lizard brain can still talk when people are intoxicated, and lizard brain can still connect with you. So while many people agree with you, and I've certainly said that to my own siblings, you're welcome here anytime, but you and Budweiser are a nasty combination. So you and Budweiser can't come here, but you can come anytime, but not with Budweiser. You and Budweiser have to stay out because you and Budweiser are nasty together. But where I'm going with that, I don't hold that hard and fast. And many times I've got acquainted with lizard brain, and I don't know if people even remember, you know, that I didn't beat them or anything like that. I loved them. I listened to them. I stayed up and stayed through the drunken talk. Now, maybe because I'm so impaired that for some people, that's the only time I can talk with them. Once you start getting to human brain, people like Ed are so darn smart that I don't always know what they're talking about. But when they're drunk, I can usually talk with anybody. We can all relate and identify. So I'm throwing a little bit of a different twist on it, because I think even within ourselves, I'm back to the anxiety and where Doug said we need to call ourselves back. When we leave ceremony and stuff, we always teach the young ones, to call your name, your Indian name 4 times. When we leave the river, when we're floating and swimming and having so much fun, we warn them that little people will get you. You be sure and call your name. You call your name so that you, and we say sometimes that our middle school kids get lost because they don't have any elders to call their name anymore. I'm just bringing this up. So I don't have a hard and fast rule. And so it's not that I don't ever do what I heard you say, Ed. I have done that many times. And I've also went ahead and stayed up and talked to Lizard Brain and got acquainted with parts of my family that they never talk about when they're sober. And sometimes I tell them, I wish that you would share in your human brain what you shared last night in your lizard brain. I wish, because then we could have some healing. Then we could have some recovery. Thank you for listening to me. And I'm thankful for all who are sharing.
Thanks, Dan. I love your lizard brain concept. If I couldn't relate to anything else, I could relate to that. Resiliency. I kind of I heard that described as strong enough to bend. I kind of like that. It's a strength, but it's also it can compromise for what's good. So what role does that concept play in the treatment of alcohol misuse? Do you have any examples of that or experiences with resiliency and dealing with alcohol misuse?
This is Ray. I'll chime in. I think this question is kind of a loaded question because it is well the way I frame it for myself is okay. I wonder which milieu of treatment we're talking about. You know, and looking at the criteria, you know, within an outpatient setting, for example, if the relative is coming in with alcohol abuse behavior, serious alcohol behavior, then the quote unquote treatment approach, actually it's an intervention approach, is different from someone who is at risk for alcohol use disorder. So across that continuum, then resilience as a factor within that treatment is different. With someone who's has alcohol, it's is addicted to alcohol, then the opportunity to work on resilience is less available versus someone who is in early intervention. So that's my, sorry for the background noise. I have an air conditioner that kicks on and off. I'll mute myself.
Okay.
I can speak to what we do here. I know that we're a YRTC Youth Residential Treatment Center, and I am the only sub counselor here. We're pretty desperate for staff here in Northern California, and the federal process is pretty pretty much a long process, tedious process. Regardless, I incorporate using the wild variety. We use Mending Broken Hearts, where we talk about the intergenerational trauma. We talk about resiliency. We talk about how, you know, we as natives have to come from a disadvantage on so many levels where we're trying to be eradicated. Knowing the history about the native struggle, especially here in California, where there was a bounty on the head for each native. The history here is horrible in California, definitely much different from what we dealt with in the Midwest and the plains. So we encourage them to be that, you know, that strong, independent person, strong, independent woman. In the case of the youth, female youth that I work with, again, a place of trauma. Somebody earlier said that, you know, people just don't willy-nilly talk about their trauma. They have to get to a place where they're comfortable, where they have that spiritual connectivity. Again, I completely agree with having the core of any substance use treatment program be the spiritual aspect of it, and let them define it, but also provide those avenues. Definitely, we've risen above being eradicated, being taken off these lands, but we're still here. We're still here fighting for our survival, and still getting you know, thrown at us every different substance out there, whether it's the carfentanil, the fentanyl derivatives, you know, the new stuff that's out there, the I think it's called Trank, where they're now lacing the carfentanil and fentanyl with horse and animal tranquilizers, which is the most horrible thing I've ever heard out there. Similar to the crocodile that we got, you know, that was laced with the meth about 10 years ago. But again, anything that they're throwing at us, you know, can be combated with the fact is we're still here, we're still standing. After, you know, centuries of trying to be eradicated natives, we're still here. And so just definitely reminding them of of the struggles that our parents, grandparents, their grandparents and so forth have endured for us to be here. We're the product of people who continue to preserve the language, preserve the culture, preserve who we are. And, you know, we're going to thrive too. We can also incorporate what everyone else is doing. I know everybody here has an iPhone or the latest Samsung. So just meeting them where they're at. If we have to make that connectivity through utilizing, you know, media platforms, TikToks, through things that will meet them where they're at, we need to do that. We need to also not live in the past. We also have to be in the present and the future. These young youth, they're age 14 to 18 that I work with, are teaching me all the new verbiage, the new terms, the new slang for what they're out there. And that just puts me on you know, on the same page with them, because they're going to respond well to people who can speak their language. And so definitely we can't have that old school mindset. Also, we need to come to the here and now, because our natives are pretty modern. You know, we persevered, and we are resilient, and just that constant reminder that we're still here. Oh, thank you.
I'd like to respond to that as far as living in the old you know, we live in a toxic world today, and that's the reason why there's a lot of this other stuff going on. And so, you know, whether you call it old, but to me, it's having that value, to bring that value to our hey, I'm on a Zoom call. So anyway, in this toxic world that we live in, you know, it gets us away from stepping outside to talk to an chimaka or the trees. Those are all there, and that's keeping it simple. And yeah, there's technology and all that stuff, but that's the toxic world that we live in. And that's what's hurting our children and our youth. And so I would bring it back to you know, the simple things, and to, you know, a long time ago when you went to a gathering, there was a blanket set out, and that family all sat on that blanket. Today, You know, with all the technology, you know, nobody doesn't eat together anymore. So, thank you.
I would like to add to what Doug just said, you know, old, new. Yes, we're in a different time with, and I agree with we live in a toxic world. And yes, back in the day, I think there were many things that were very, very positive, very healthy way of life. And yes, you talk about the new, but the resilience in a village setting where I come from, and there's 19 pueblos. Majority of us have a central place of the community coming together. Just like powwow people, they come to a gathering place, a sacred place. Ours is the plaza. And so in one of my presentations, I asked 200 plus people from one of my, where my mom is from, my mother's from. I asked them, you know, there's many of us that have ill feeling toward one another. And when do we come together to enjoy the culture, to enjoy our way of life, whether before or today? What brings us together, and what people that are not friends or don't like each other, gossip about each other, they come to this place and they're decent with each other. They greet one another. It's the best time, I would say. And they finally answered and said, it's the plaza. It's where we come together for dances. Whatever dances, whatever cultural event, we come together. We're many of us, maybe not all, feel very, very happy, very good, very connected to our culture, to our way of life, especially the 2 years with COVID, not being able to come together. Now we're coming together again and coming in the plaza to share happiness and our dances and for prayer and for, you know, continued wellness and whatever else we pray for. And so the plaza is the heart of who we are as a people, and it goes way back. And for me, that's a place of resilience that spreads throughout the community. There's such feeling that is shared prior, during, and after. And so I truly believe that our way of life as a people for us has been very strong. And now, you know, even as we move into this world, whether you want to call it toxic or, you know, a scary place to live now, you know, we still have our way of life, even the traditional way of life that we don't talk about to others. So for me, I value that, I respect that, and I will continue to do that. And that's what makes me feel resilient and being in the field that I am to help my Native people in my area. So I just want to add that, you know, who we are as a people, our ancestors, and the plaza where we come together still exists and will exist. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Lena. And I couldn't help but think, unfortunately, one of the central locations that call us together is usually funerals and wakes. And I had a cousin, actually, her and I went to wake together. We sat together and we got caught up, and then she says, why did we wait till somebody dies for us to get together and have this kind of a connection again? And that really kind of spoke to me. So sometimes we need to take initiative and create opportunities to get close to each other. Okay, we want to move on, Steve. I think the polling question was, what are some ways, methods, means to address the problem of alcohol misuse? And I think we kind of hit on several of those along the way here, but does anybody else have in the way of a solution? Or I know that the culture is prevention, and the culture can also be treatment. Does anybody have any experiences you want to share and ways to address the issues of alcohol misuse? Okay, the next question is related to harm reduction. How can that be useful? Anybody have any comments or anything you share regarding?
This is Clem again. I always have an opinion and a voice on any of these questions, but definitely just to get the party started. Harm reduction is something that is pretty much controversial in Indian country, because in definition, harm reduction is doing the lesser of many, many evils. Something that is pretty normal out here in California is the use of cannabis, because it is legal. But again, it isn't legal for our youth, neither is alcohol. But the fact is, it's hard for some individuals to comprehend that a harm reduction path where maybe utilizing the medication assisted treatment, utilizing, the use of cannabis or the use of alcohol in smaller amounts versus methamphetamine or fentanyl or anything. Basically, it's the lesser of any evils, and some people have a problem with that. Definitely, I think it's akin to those that have had that old school mentality where it's complete abstinence or nothing. But I think we've evolved and we have to meet them where they're at. One of the questions I ask is, you need to be honest about your recovery. What are you going to do when you get home? Most of the residents, the youth that I work with say, I'm going to go back to vaping. I know I'm going to be smoking weed a little bit. And so if that is exactly where they're at, part of what I want to do isn't their program. I would like them to be completely abstinent, but it's also meeting them on exactly what they're going to do so that they can do that controlled, that usage. And I know that word controlled usage is, again, another controversial term. But again, harm reduction is definitely a way that is more of a realistic approach. I don't know if you want to call it reality approach or realistic thinking, but definitely it's something that a lot of people in definitely in Native country are having a hard time comprehending. Is again, how do these people still fit into 12-step meetings? Do these people still fit into ceremony if they're utilizing anything at all? So again, it comes up into the ethical the ethical line of this kind of work. But again, harm reduction is definitely a better option than saying you're going to stay sober or else you're a failure, because that's what it turns out to be.
Very, very well put. You know, I'm kind of a little bit old school, so you know, I was abstinence all the way, but I've come to see the light on that. I I also, you know, within me, abstinence is the goal. That's it. But there are many paths to get there. Some people are going to use spirituality. Some people are going to use other types of support to eventually achieve that. And I've come to appreciate medicine as being another instrument, a tool, a method to achieve abstinence, that being the goal. I've come to appreciate that. I met a man up in Boston. Had a chance to go up to meet with Harvard University, Boston, Massachusetts. Oh my goodness, whatever. But I met a man who was in recovery, and he said that he's got like over 30 years in recovery, active recovery. But he said he had to drop out of the 12-step program because of the psychotropic medication that he was taking. He was told that he wasn't really in recovery unless he got off that medication. And from a psychiatric position, he needs that medication. Without it, you know, he's in serious trouble. But he said that the 12-step people that he was associated with rejected that. Now, next we have medical marijuana. So, you know, what do we do with that next? Because, you know, some of us old school, you know, that was a illegal mood altering substance, and a sneaky one when it comes to addiction to that. But again, I've seen the light on that. I have personal experience with people who benefited from the use of medical marijuana. Their condition dramatically improved with the use of it. So, you know, these are all concepts of harm reduction, especially in Indian country. Now, again, I want to restate: I am abstinence to the core. I believe that is kind of it, at least for me. But how do we get there? You know, I've kind of changed my philosophy. I used to be hardcore and rigid about you know, abstinence or nothing, but I've backed off from that. Anybody else want to share regarding harm reduction? I know it's a tough subject in Indian country.
So I wanted to just pop in again too here. So with our TOR funding, since we have an urban-based program and our focus of support is to help our urban Indian health centers in the major cities of Montana, our program specifically doesn't do any direct service work. So we don't offer any sort of harm reduction treatment methods. However, one area we do offer harm reduction support is helping individuals with basic care needs. We work with some centers here in the city of Billings that work with the people who live on the street. And so we help them by providing wound care supplies, personal hygiene supplies. Over the winter, we provided hats, gloves, and socks for individuals living on the street. I think we overlook those aspects of harm reduction, just making people feel cared for and supported. And you know, maybe that just plants a small seed of hope within that person that they can improve their life situation, and there are people out there that care about them, and that maybe that's just the first of many small steps that they need to take to start their recovery journey. But there are many other forms of harm reduction just outside of medication assisted treatment.
Good point. Well said. Social supports, spiritual supports.
Well, I would like to mention a little bit about, there was a lot of questions about around here about who could attend sweat lodge ceremony. And there was questions that they had to be absent of whatever to attend. However, for myself, I didn't put that rule out there. I allowed anybody and everyone that was trying to find their way, because with the sweat lodge, it's, you know, if you go a few times, you will find yourself. And so depending on, I mean, there could be a lot of different considerations to take, precautions, whatever. But for me, you know, like I'm connected to myself, and so I would get in touch with that gut feeling. And if that gut feeling says, yeah, they'll be okay, then you know, I would allow them to come and to participate. And so, you know, everybody's different, but for me, they're and that's how they get started. Maybe they'll come one time or a couple of times and not come back, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're coming in and saying, hey, you know, I want to get, you know, sober now. So thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
And I think it's about that time. We're on a roll. I mean we're on a pull.
All right.
I couldn't resist. I've been waiting to use that one. Let's try this poll question. This is again, question is, what do you feel is or are the most effective ways your community is currently addressing alcohol misuse issues? And you can choose more than one of these if you want. And we'll give folks a few more minutes to chime in here, and then I'll share the results. Everybody see the poll results? If you can't, we've got about 44% said offering treatment services, including detox. 50% of you that participated said all of the above. So offering preventative services, offering early intervention services, offering treatment services, and offering cultural or community-based supports. So more than half of you think that these are, all of these above are the effective ways that your community is currently addressing the alcohol use or misuse in your community. Oh, did I put another poll question out there? Nobody respond to that one yet. I'm saving that last poll question. Okay, thank you for participating in that.
Okay, next, we want to discuss the poll question.
I think we just did.
Okay.
Yep.
So question then.
Yeah, unless folks have some comments about those results, I can share them again if we'd like to look at those. Yeah, that's a good idea, Ed. I'll share them again. Ed, are you able to see those?
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
They popped up when you re-engaged here, so.
Oh, great. You really are on a poll, Ed. Okay, well, I can take those down if we don't have any discussion around those.
Yeah. Next question. Examples of self-care. Self-care, what is that? Comments or questions around self-care? Or real?
I'll go. This is Carol.
Yes.
Let's see. I think that, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about Native American self-care approaches for relapse prevention, especially with the populations that I serve, where money is a factor, cost is a factor. So I try my best as a practitioner, and even for myself. I went out to the hobby store yesterday and I spent $60 on beads, and that's it. That's a and that's it with the sale, but it's not possible for some of our people. So I just think of like simple things of treating yourself to a walk at the end of the day, do some mindfulness walking as a treat. Maybe doing gratitude, where you can put in our native ways of thought of doing gratitude at the end of the day or in the beginning of the morning, just do a walk. Just keeping it simple. And that's all I have. Thanks, Miigwech.
Excellent example. Exercise is important. Part of our self-care. And it could be as simple as taking a walk. Or as complicated and expensive as it is taking a walk around the golf course, chasing a little white ball around.
We talk about self-care. I have quite a few special needs folks within my family. And years ago, we were at a Special Olympics and two of my daughters started arguing about who was more special. I'm just speaking because I noticed this whole time, I've never had so much difficulty as I have today, just trying to follow the chat box and trying to get around on my phone. So I'm feeling very special today. Blessings, all of you. And I think a big part of self-care, though, is what I've heard so many people bring up in different ways, is our ways of loving each other in relational ways, in contemporary ways, but as people who have long loved each other and people who are committed to loving each other far into the future. I put it in the chat box a while ago, but I tell kids that tradition is not old, it's contemporary, that's been practiced a long, long time. But tradition and culture fit today, it'll fit tomorrow, it'll fit the day after that. And as I get old and tired, and I've been ill, as some of you know, and I'm ill today. But I'm so thankful at ceremonies to hear my kids and grandkids pick up the songs, say the good words, share the good things. So again, thank you for letting me participate.
Thank you, Dan. Sometimes we can be so busy helping others, we really neglect our something to give somebody.
And the idea too of help for the helpers. We knew that we would have many of you that are in direct care service positions or within the behavioral health field. So that's really where we're coming from with this question too. And I really liked what Carol said about reflecting on native ways of practicing this. So please unmute and share with us. And Nanny made a good comment. Love to hear from her.
Yes.
When you talk about helping the helpers, as a supervisor in my place of employment, I ask my staff every week at the end of the week, what are they going to do for self-care? So I really try to encourage my staff to engage in self-care for themselves. And it is important to the work that we do because it is challenging. It is hard. I heard someone mention earlier they desperately need people to come and work for their agency. I'm in an area that's the same way. We don't have a lot of applicants that are, just waiting to come and work for us. So it's trying to be creative to encourage people to join the workforce in addressing these alcohol and drug issues within our tribal communities. So that's all I have.
Carol, I was thinking, back to, I was a delinquent when I was a kid. I was I was a truant, and part of my punishment was when I was in the 6th grade. My mom, I'm a product of boarding schools too, and my mom came in there into my bedroom and gave me, it was the last day of summer school. I thought I got away with being in trouble. Then my mom comes in there with a trash bag, a big black hefty trash bag, and goes, "Here, take everything you need for this summer. Your auntie and your grandma are going to be here for you any minute." I said, "What?" But I guess my mom had written a letter. My dad talked to my grandparents, and they sent me out to live at the reservation for the whole summer with my grandparents in their 80s. And so I went up there to Kickapoo's, and there was no phone, no air condition, no TV. All we had was a radio and like a oscillating fan. That was the big thing of the summer. But it was the best thing for me because I got to learn our ways, our culture. And I really got to see my grandparents in a new light and see how, they were just, they were tough. But, they never said a bad word about anybody. And at the end of the day, we don't, go outside and listen to this little transistor radio if we weren't doing a puzzle, because that would be the big treat when grandma would get a wild hair and say, let's do a puzzle. But in that time, we would reflect on the day and find out what was our favorite part of the day. And so even with that thought, as crappy and hard as our work is, and I'm in recovery, I still try to be in the moment, like during the days, like, okay, I don't want to go to bed saying this was a crappy day. I want to sit there and think about what was good about it. And so with my kids, they're adults, I'll ask them, okay, what was your win for the day? And sometimes I'm not like always in that moment, but my kids will be like, they're like 18 and 20. They'll say, what was your win, Mom? And so sometimes I'm like, oh, that's my grandparents. I get to see my grandparents reflected in their thought. Instead of going to bed saying, boy, today was a really crappy day, they can just find a win. And I will pass.
Thank you for sharing that. I love the concept of including family, close family, and care. Modeling it, teaching it, and also engaged in it. Awesome.
For myself, I like to watch those horses, just sit back and watch them. And when they get finished with working with somebody, they'll roll. They'll lay down and they'll roll and they'll get back up and they'll take themselves off. They'll go back to what they love to do, is eat grass. And so we, as work with people, we have to do the same by recentering ourselves and shake off what is not ours and go back to what we love doing most, whether that's helping family, taking care of ourselves. Love to golf myself, doing those kind of things. So thank you.
This is Lena. I just want to respond to Steve's comment about tending to his spirit. Working with, as a provider, working with Native, my people, whether outpatient, inpatient, and not just Native people, actually, I've worked with all walks of life when I worked in an inpatient setting. And one of the teachings that I would share is, self-care is having a relationship with yourself. You were born with the spirit, with the breath of life. Who you are as a person. Are you funny? Are you compassionate? Or are you a good listener? Are you lots of good things? And I would, share with them, that's still with you and it is always with you. So even if you were using, there were times that probably you still would make a joke or have some of that fun spirit about yourself come out. And that's always with you. It's working with that spirit of yours to reconnect with you, who you are through your recovery. And so I think much has to do with self-care, has much to do with having that relationship with yourself and having compassion for yourself, showing kindness, showing that you are important and that there are many things to do outside of use to have a good way of life. So again, that spirit that we are all born with, as my father, who was a medicine person, taught us, as long as you have a good heart, mind, and soul, you will never go wrong. I carry that with me every day in my work with people. And I think this is this topic, this conversation I have with clients really is it inspires the client, it inspires a conversation, it inspires however which way, but it's always in a good way that it does that. Sometimes it does bring sadness and the hurt, but it always comes full circle as far as what it is, what our spirit, who that spirit, the spirit of John, the spirit of Joe, Mary, whoever. So for me, just to share with you that that's some of the work that I do, and when working with people is really connecting with that self, or having that relationship with self as a part of self-care. Thank you.
Ed, we are approaching the top of the hour. Want to make sure we honor everyone's time commitments, and just wanted to want to see if I've got one last poll question to leave you with. Let's see if I can get this one out there. I'm gonna try. Did I already launch this one? Maybe. Oh well. There we go. Relaunch. Here we go. Last poll question. In your experience, what is the biggest underlying factor driving alcohol misuse in your community? If you care to chime in on this poll, I'd love to hear from you. That's very good. A couple more minutes here to let folks chime in.
Over. My, how time flies when you're having fun, huh?
I know we're nearing the end of our time with all of you, but I'm going to end this poll just so I can show you the results here. Pretty clear to me what you all are feeling is driving a lot of the alcohol use. You've heard me say many times that a person's alcohol or drug use is a symptom. It's not the problem. It's causing problems, but it really is an indicator that there's something underneath that they haven't been able to process or work through. And so we see here about 54% of you feel that untreated or misunderstood mental health issues are a driving factor behind alcohol use. That was the predominant response to that poll. So thank you for participating in that. Ed, any closing thoughts?
Well, just I was gonna chime in with Doug. Of course, I love the horse disease, and I introduced the horse nation many years ago, back in the 60s, and experienced healing through my interaction with the horses. I know the creator can use them in a very powerful way to them in a version of equine therapy. But I just want to reiterate that the comments that Doug made about those horses. I just go out there and just interact with them, just, walk amongst them or whatever. The young lady that was in program. She had a close family member pass away at 2:00 in the morning. And when her family come to pick her up, she said, go get her horse before she, so they called me and said, let her go get her horse. Caught the horse, turn her back to the horse, hold some grain in the palm of her, make the horse come behind her and go across her shoulder, roaring her. So the horse breaks her with the horse's neck. Mom got a hug from her horse. Very powerful.
Thank you for sharing that, Ed. You were cutting out a little bit, but I tried to turn your video off to see if that would have helped, but it didn't quite make it. Again, I want to thank everyone for being part of the listening session today. I really enjoyed what I've heard, and thank you so much, Doc Foster, and to all of you that joined us today. If you get a chance to fill out the survey today or when we reach out to you post-event, we'd really appreciate hearing back from you. Until next time, please, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay connected. Thank you so much.